What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to another episode of our First Down Training show. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 reasons that you get benched. So we're going to talk about all the mistakes that athletes will make, how you guys can prevent those mistakes, which will lead to more playtime. Then we're going to be answering some questions that you guys left on a previous episode of this show. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get started. So like I said, you guys, there are really 5 reasons as to why you will get benched as a player, why coaches maybe get frustrated with you. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And then obviously some easy ways that you guys can prevent those mistakes from happening, okay? So mistake number 1 is making the same mistake on the field, like a physical mistake, over and over and over again and not correcting it. So I think like mistakes are going to happen, right? That's inevitable. That's part of football. That's part of life, right? You're going to screw up. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes, right? But I think the guys that end up getting benched, that end up pissing off their coaches, are the guys that will make a mistake, coaches correct them, and then they make that same mistake again, and they make the same mistake again. And coaches get very, very tired of having to repeat themselves over and over again, right? So like me personally, I don't necessarily have as big of a problem with it. I consider myself a very patient guy. So the athletes that I work with, because I don't coach for a school, right? So I try to give you the perspective of like a school coach, because he ultimately decides your play time. I don't. But like if I'm working with an athlete and he screws up on something and I tell him what to do and he screws up again, I'm going to tell him again, I'm going to tell him again. That's part of my job as a trainer, I feel. Coaches for like a high school team, a youth team, middle school team, no matter what caliber of team it is, they don't necessarily have that kind of time to break it down like simple, where they work with each athlete like, hey, you need to do this, screw up again. Hey, you need to do this. And they try to find different ways to explain it to that athlete. They might do it in like certain ways, but they just don't have that kind of time, because their job ultimately, when you're a school coach or a middle school team, your job is to prepare you guys as well as they possibly can. And their job is to win football games, right? So like they are moving very, very fast. So they don't have the time to kind of hold your hand. You need to hold yourself accountable as a player, that if I make a physical mistake, I'm not going to make that same exact mistake again. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Okay. So like, for example, if you're a quarterback, and let's say they explained a play to you where you need to read the outside linebacker. You're reading the outside backer, he crashes, you throw a slant, he stays home, you throw the flat route, for example, right? He stays home, and let's say you force a slant, you throw a pick. You're going to come to the sideline, they're going to tell you, hey, dude, if he stays like that, throw the flat route, or identify the coverage or do something different, right? So the next play, the next time you have that opportunity, you need to fix it. Because if you're that guy that's repeating the same mistake over and over again, that's going to hinder your play time at any position, okay? Now, second thing that will make people lose playtime, get benched, is a massive mental mistake. So physical mistakes are going to happen. We just addressed that. Mental mistakes, you need to hold yourself to a higher standard. I honestly I feel like with the players that I train, because that's really the experience that I have currently, is I work with a lot of athletes down here in Southern California. I hold them to a very, very high standard in hopes that they hold themselves to that standard when I'm not around. When it's a training session with me, I am focused on every single little detail to try to ingrain that into their mind, where every single little detail of their rep, what they are doing, is what they are focused on, right? Because in a game, you can't think about that. But in practice, if you're hyper-focused on the details, those days, that time you spend on that starts to add up and it starts to stack up. That's how you get better, right? Mentally, you need to be so freaking locked in when it comes to practicing with your team or like game performance with your team, right? Mental mistakes should not happen. That's the standard you need to hold yourself to. Can mental mistakes happen? Yes, and they probably will, but you want to try to limit those as big as you possibly can, or as much as you possibly can, right? What's a mental mistake? A receiver running a wrong route. That's honestly like just a lack of preparation, in my opinion. If you're supposed to run a hitch and you run a slant, you're not focused. You're not locked into what you were doing, because we know that you know the play, or you just simply don't put the time in to actually study your playbook. Those mental mistakes you need to limit, because that's one of the things that'll get guys benched. If I can't trust you to do your job, and it's not even necessarily you need to do your job like to the level caliber of like a 5-star or a D1 player. I just need you to execute and do your job and do what you're supposed to do, and then we'll fine tune the details. We'll work on the physical mistakes, but the mental mistakes need to be limited if you want to get more play time. Okay, so that's the second mistake that will lead to guys getting benched, okay? Third mistake, what I would say, missing practice, okay? Listen, I had a guy comment on a live stream. I was doing a TikTok live the other day, and he was like, hey, coach, is it normal? I had a family event, a family tragedy, and it was a pretty big deal. I had to miss practice, and my coaches benched me. I came back, I was 3rd string. Is that normal? Yeah, it is. And listen, I get it. Life happens. You know what I mean? Like maybe you have an immediate death in the family. Your grandma, your grandpa died. You know what I mean? That's an awful thing. Parent died. That's another awful thing that obviously happens. And you need to take the time because you can't, again, like you can't get those moments back. I'm not saying miss a funeral. I'm not saying do those things. You need to make sure that you communicate those types of things, those types of events way in advance or as much in advance as you can. Obviously, you can't prepare for a death, but if it's like a marriage, like a wedding, whatever it is, communicate that with your coach. Excuse me, you guys. Communicate that with your coach way in advance if possible. Or like be like, hey coach, listen, like, you know, somebody in my family just died. Like while you're at practice, while you're at a meeting, be like, listen, there might be a day where I have to miss because of the funeral. We're trying to do it on a weekend, but I just want to let you know way ahead of time, way in advance in case that has to happen. And he may not respond well to that. He may say like, hey, listen, you know, it wouldn't be fair to the other guys if you miss practice and you come back and you get your job. You're going to have to earn it when you come back, but I appreciate you telling me. Generally, that's how the conversation will go. And that's one situation. That's one camp. Second thing, though, I will say is if you're missing practices, lifting, meetings because of like appointments that could easily be scheduled around your practice or around a game or whatever the case may be, you deserve to lose your job. You deserve to lose your spot because it's just, here's how it comes off to a coach. And listen, I get it. I understand that you guys have very busy schedules. I understand that maybe you're not in control of your schedules if you're a player watching this, but like you got to be there. And if you're in middle school or flag ball and maybe your coach is cool about it and he's like, you know, doesn't really care because you don't have that many guys, whatever. When you get to high school, it's going to be an extremely rude awakening. When you get to college, you're going to be flat out off the team. So I'm trying to prepare you now so it's not a rude awakening when you get to that specific level of football. Okay, so that's why I say this, guys. So you need to understand that you need to be at practice. I had a guy recently that I trained, you know what I mean? And I told his dad this, I was upfront with them about it, but they went to like Dubai for like 10 days. I think it may have even been longer, right when summer football camp started. And the kid's like, well, why am I not playing? I'm so much better than the other guy. It's like, because you missed summer football. Like, that's not fair to the guys who were there that you just walk right back in after missing all that time and then you get your starting role back. You know what I'm saying? So you need to earn it back if you miss practice, if you end up missing practice, God forbid. But if you can make every single practice, you need to be at every single practice because that's how it is, you guys. Like, it's no different than like if you're at a job. Yes, you have sick days. Yes, you have off days, but imagine just not showing up all the time. Like, your boss is probably not going to be very happy with you and he probably can't rely on you. He's like, I can't hire Grant because he's missing all these days of work. I can't give him a bigger project. Maybe he doesn't fire you, but I can't give you a bigger project. I'm not going to promote you. I'm not going to give you any more benefit. Like, I'm not going to do these things because I can't rely on you. They need to be able to rely on you, and you being there is the best thing. Best thing for them to be able to rely on you is your availability. Okay, so now, mistake number 4, bad attitude, okay? Like, and listen, a bad attitude is something that you can absolutely control, right? There are 2 things that you can control, like just in life, not even necessarily in football, I'm just talking in life, and that's your attitude and that's your effort. So that's work ethic and that's how you show up every single day at practice. So nowadays in the world of like social media, and like, you know, maybe I'm part of the problem with this, right? Because I put out tons of information with football tips, drills, and I consider it to be very good information. And I think a lot of you probably consider the same. Some of your coaches may not be teaching similar things that I'm doing, right? And that, you know, in some cases, that's not the best thing because, you know, maybe coaches are teaching you the wrong thing, right? And we've made videos on that in the past, like how to deal with a bad coach or a coach who's not that knowledgeable. And I get that situation, but you can't come off like I know more and I'm not going to listen to you. And this is for the youth and the middle school guys as well, because you know who coaches youth ball? Dads, right? Everybody loves to throw the term around daddy ball. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But it's like, the thing is if you show up with the attitude like, I'm not listening to you because you're a dad, you don't know anything, and you show that disrespect, a coach is going to probably take that personally and probably not going to want to put you on the field unless you're just like insanely talented and just way better than everybody else. You need to have a good attitude. And by good attitude, I just mean showing respect. A coach is talking, you're looking him in the eye. A coach tells you to do something, you do it. If he tells you to do something wrong and you know it's wrong and like it's proven that it's wrong, like for example, quarterbacks, like he's telling you to hold the ball up by your ear or like come way over the top and pull your front elbow down. Those are things that are wrong mechanically, right? You don't want to be like, well, that's all my trainer says, and show him that disrespect. You want to say, yes, sir, I'll try my best, and then do it the way that you know is efficient and the way that works for you. That's not every case, because sometimes coaches might be telling you stuff that is actually legitimate that you should be implementing into your game. You just want to show respect, because if you're disrespectful and you get that label as like a disrespectful player who has a bad attitude, they're not going to want to put you on the field, because there are a lot of coaches that would rather lose with a group of guys that are respectful and will do it their way than maybe win with a group of guys who are disrespectful and it's bad team chemistry. Everybody needs to operate as one, especially in a team environment. And if you have a bad attitude, you're not willing to buy in, coaches will not put you on the field because it's bad for the team chemistry. So I get asked a lot of times by athletes, you guys, Coach, why am I not playing? You know, I feel like my coach is playing favorites. I feel like he doesn't like me. Like, you need to look into that accountability mirror and be like, listen, what am I, honestly look in the mirror. What am I not doing? What am I have a bad attitude? Am I need to check myself? Do I need to be more patient? You need to ask yourself those types of questions, because that might be why you're not playing. That definitely might be one of the reasons why you got benched. I heard a story this past weekend where a player comes off the field and he cussed out his offensive coordinator. It's like, what the, like, bro, you should be off the team if you're doing that type of stuff. So you can't have that bad attitude, okay? So that's one of the main things that will cause players to get benched, is they feel like they're not bought into the program, okay? Now, before we get to this last mistake, you guys, if you are a QB or wide receiver watching this video and you guys would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 15 different cities across the entire country for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camps, you guys. So fellas, if you'd like to sign up, go to that very first link in the description below. That's where you can get all the information. We're going to be coming out to San Francisco, California, Orlando, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Columbia, South Carolina, Seattle, Washington. Then we'll be heading out to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We're excited about that one. Then we'll be coming out to Nashville, Tennessee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado, Columbus, Ohio, Boston, Massachusetts, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California. So guys, you want some information, you want to sign up, go to that very first link in the description below. Our camps, some of you may not be familiar with this, they're a little bit different. We don't do the camps where it's get 1 million people out there and go as fast as we can, everybody get a t-shirt, then we leave. We're taking the time to actually develop you for 2 full days. So you make a mistake, we're going to coach you up on it. Hey, you need to improve here. This is how you can improve. And we can't do that if there are 1 million people there. With that being said, all of our camps will sell out, you guys. Our first 3 camps in San Francisco, Orlando, and Phoenix, we only have about less than 10 spots available in each one of those camps. So guys, make sure you get your spot. Very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you there. If you plan on attending, make sure you sign up soon, because all of our camps will sell out. The last 3 years, we've had to turn everybody away at a certain point. So guys, make sure you take advantage of the fact that we have open spots, okay? So now, mistake number 5, like we said, execution. So this is a big one, because everybody thinks like, and again, just because you work hard, and this may not be a popular opinion, just because you work hard does not mean that you are entitled to playing. Okay, so I know plenty of athletes that work immensely hard. It's their entire life football. They're in the gym, work on speed. They train super hard in the offseason, but they don't get a lot of play time. And the reason why is because you're not executing your job. That's just the fact of the matter how things are. You do the hard work in hopes that you are doing the right thing, so when you get put into a game situation, you can execute your job. Now, I think a lot of times the reason why people don't execute their job is they are training incorrectly, right? So I'll talk about that and then I'll elaborate on what I just said. Like, for example, let's say you're a receiver, okay? And let's say you're a high school receiver. What do you see a lot of coverage-wise? Probably mostly zone coverage. You'll see some press coverage, and you always want to be prepared for that. But in the offseason, if you're spending like 80% of your time working on press releases, different moves, all this fancy stuff, right, that you love to see on social media, and then you get to your team and you have no idea how to run routes versus zone, you didn't spend a lot of time on top of the route, you didn't spend a lot of time on understanding zone coverages, you get into a zone situation, if you're not able to execute, we can't put you on the field. So you might be working really, really hard, but on the wrong things, and you're not executing your job. We can't have you on the field if that's the case, you guys. So that's why a lot of people don't play, because they don't execute. You need to be able to execute. Now, let's say you're working hard on the right things. Let's say you're doing what you should be doing, but you find yourself not executing. That might be a problem in between the ears. Maybe you're not focused. Maybe at practice you get around your friends and you're a little bit distracted, and then you're not able to execute your job. So maybe you need to focus a little bit more on like, okay, I have a specific play. My job on this play is to run this route this way, to do this way, and then you need to just focus on what your job is in that specific moment. Take things one play at a time and be in the present moment. Tune out all the distractions and just focus on your job, because it will be a little bit easier to execute. That's if you've done the groundwork and all those things that you can execute become muscle memory. So it's a combination of that, you guys. You're not entitled to anything just because you work hard, because I'm willing to bet everybody watching this thinks they work hard. And you might. Maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe you're not working hard enough, and that's why you're not executing. You could always do more. You should always have that attitude where you're never satisfied and you're never finished. Let's say you're really good at the top of the route, right? Like your breaks are really clean. How can I even take that further? How can I get more advanced with that? Let's say I'm really good at catching. How can I get better at one-handed catches? You know what I'm saying? Like that might be a little bit like extreme, because I'm a firm believer that you need to be really good at two before you start using one. But at the same time, like that's the attitude that you need to have, and you need to be able to execute when you are put into that situation, because you will not play if you can't execute your job and simplify your job on the field, okay? So guys, that's why a lot of people get benched. That's why a lot of people don't have much play time. So if you could focus on those things, I feel like you will have a much better opportunity to play the rest of this season, or maybe next season if you're in the off season watching this, okay? So now, fellas, before we get into your guys' questions, I want to let you know that I answer literally every single question that you guys post in the comment section below on these videos. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate you guys watching our long form videos. So guys, if you have questions, stuff you want to ask me, do not hesitate. Post those in the comment section below. I promise you I will respond. And the best questions that I feel could give everybody value, I will include in the next episode of our show. So guys, post your questions in the comment section below. And now we're going to get into some questions that you guys left on a previous episode of this show. So again, guys, appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope this is able to help. So question number 1 from Big Chunger V5G. What's the best way to get big-time colleges like Georgia or OSU to give you looks and an offer? So the thing about all the players that play at those big-time schools, if you want to get an offer from one of those schools, they have extremely dominant film. To be able to play at a Power 5 Division I school, you not only got to be the best player on your team, you got to be the best player in your league, most likely, and one of the best players in your region, and one of the best players in your state. To play at those big, I'm talking the huge caliber schools, that's what you need. So that's what your focus should ultimately be, right? Your focus in the offseason, like your resources should go towards training, a private trainer, speed training, strength training, anything that's going to make you a better varsity level football player, that's going to help you execute your job to an extremely high level. That's how you can get the attention of those coaches. Can you do things on social media to promote yourself? Yes, but there is no hack or like way around being really freaking good. So you need to focus on that type of stuff first before you worry about the exposure, the camps, the recruiting services, the recruiting agents that are out there. Focus on being one of the best caliber football players in your area. That's my best piece of advice to you, okay? So I hope that answers your question, man. I appreciate you asking that. Next question from Michigan Man 81, more like a comment. I'm dealing with daddy ball. My kid's JV coach did not hide when I called him out on it. He decided to try to curse me out, brought it up to the varsity coach, but still happening. Unfortunately, it's bloodline over team. Lack of leadership and discipline is very concerning. Yeah, so I mean, this is a question that I get from a lot of people like, hey, I'm dealing with daddy ball. What should I do, right? Now, here's the thing about daddy ball. More often than not, the coach's kid, extremely hardworking, puts in a lot of extra time, and is generally pretty solid and pretty good, right? Those guys deserve to play, regardless of who their dad is or who their dad isn't. The best guys should always play. Are there teams that do daddy ball? Absolutely, right? But what I recommend to you guys, and this goes for everybody, not just the person who asked this question, I recommend for all you guys to look in the mirror, look in that accountability mirror and be like, listen, is he better than me in some areas? Is he executing his job on the field at practice and scout team in a game? And if he is, and you could honestly look in those areas, maybe don't use the daddy ball thing as a crutch or an excuse. Figure out, okay, I'm in this situation. The coach's kid is playing. The odds are stacked against me. Have the attitude of what can I do to get out of this situation and make it so obvious that I deserve to be playing. If he's not better than you in those areas, you should still have that attitude, because that's the best way to get out of that daddy ball situation, is make it so obvious that parents, other players, other coaches are saying like, hey, we need to play this kid. That needs to be the attitude that you have, because you don't want to sit there and play victim and be like, oh, well, I'm not playing because of daddy ball, and then throw your hands up and quit, because that's not good and that's not going to serve you in any aspect of life, having that type of attitude, okay? So I hope that makes sense, man. I appreciate you asking that. Appreciate you commenting that. Next question from Samuel Hurleyman. Hey, coach, I play defensive end in high school because that's where they want me, but I want to play tight end. Is there a great chance that I'll get moved to tight end at JUCO and later college, because most likely I'll be 6'5", 245 pounds? Also, how common are position switches? So at the collegiate level, I think it's very common if they feel like you're a better fit at a certain position to move you to that position. That's why everybody loves recruiting athletes, like labeled ATH in the recruiting class, because like, let's say you're like Travis Hunter, for example, right? Like, I know he played both ways, but like, he had a lot of plays on defense in high school, a lot of plays on special teams, and like, let's say maybe he didn't have as many offensive plays, but they liked him as a receiver, let's say at Colorado. If they recruit him wherever he signed initially, like let's say they recruit him and they're like, he's got a lot of defensive film, but we see him more as a receiver. When you get to college, they're going to put you more so at receiver. That's why they love athleticism and explosive playmaking ability. So if you're a guy who's like maybe naturally a receiver, but you're playing a lot of defense, you're going to run heavy offense, just focus on making plays. If you can make explosive plays, showcase your athleticism, and showcase you're an explosive playmaker, you're more likely to fit into the right spot at a college program that you get to. So you just have to make the best of the situation that you're in and make the best of the hand that you were dealt, okay? So I hope that makes sense, man. I appreciate you asking that question, okay? Now, fellas, that does it for this episode, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, if you guys want to attend one of our 15 off-season camps all across the country this year, go to that very first link in the description below. And if you guys have any questions, want to ask me, comments, whatever, guys, go ahead, post those in the comments section below. I promise I will respond to you. But again, appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.